Well, good afternoon. Friday, G-Force Friday. Hey, didn't have the mic on. Hey, good Friday, G-Force Friday. I'm really excited today to share Kathy Ginn, her interview today. We had to do a little switch up. Just some things came up with her business and a couple things on my side of the fence. But we got up early this morning, and we did a interview, a live recorded interview here, and it's dynamic. Stay on to the end because at the end, you don't want to miss it. So again, G-Force Friday. And I'm grateful that you're here. The G stands for gratitude. And I'm not going to take a lot to do at this particular time, but hey, stay on. I'll be here through the entire video. If there's any comments, hey, just make them down below. Share this out with your friends. Put it in your groups. I think there's going to be some, I don't think, I absolutely for sure know there's going to be some tremendous wisdom and seeing a great spirit in my best friend, my wife, and the most influential person in my life. And I honor her today for this. This is my first interview on G-Force. And so enjoy. We're going to start here right now. Just give me a second to make sure I get everything set up properly. And we are going to see a magnificent person, Kathleen Zastro Ginn, the most influential person in my life. Good morning, everybody in the G-Force Nation. Tom Ginn here. I'm really excited today with this interview. As I shared out to previous this week, the greatest influencer in my life, and it's Kathleen Ginn. She's my wife. And I just want to bring her gift to you today. Let her share her story, her journey, her passions, and her love, what she does. And so as we're going through this today, don't hesitate to put comments down in the comment sections. Just give us some feedback of what you're hearing. Any comments are welcome. So just want to let you know, share this out with your friends, tag your friends, because I honestly believe that her message is can impact a lot of people's lives. So with that all said, I'm going to welcome my wife, my greatest influencer in life, Kathy Zastro Ginn. Good day, Kathy. Good day. So welcome.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Tom. Hello, everybody. And I just want to begin by thanking Tom for inviting me into his G-Force segment as his first guest. I'm excited and I'm a little scared at the same time. And what I've learned, that is the best place to be, because you're in the right place. So thank you for inviting me, Tom.
I just put this up, Kathy, is that this is one of your most favorite quotes, and the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put that up there because I know how important it is to you. And we were talking this in some of my segments and last episodes about fear. And but anyway, so I know that's one of your favorite quotes. So do you want to make any comment on that before we get going here? And on the
Just, you're correct. It's one of my favorite quotes. It really sums up a lot of my life, which I'll share a little bit later. Yeah. Fear is a treasure.
Okay. All right. Well, Kath, we're ready to, I'm just going to just say, just open this up, just tell me about you, where you're born, where you've lived, and
Sure.
the journey that you have. We'll just start with that. And
Yeah. Born and raised in a small town, Oconomowoc, Wisconsin. Born and raised, as I said, one of six children. So a family of eight. And my upbringing was, I was raised in a Christian home, um, influenced by my father and mother, who had an impeccable work ethic, which I'll talk about a little bit later. With that work ethic came discipline. We were expected to do many things around the house. And we also had a lot of fun as a family. Music, polka music, my parents are German. Dancing, lots of dancing were a big part of our life as I was growing up. And then, of course, my father ingrained in me, don't spend what you don't have. And so I carry that with me to this day. So I'm grateful to my mom and dad for teaching me many lessons. Some of them very difficult, of course. And they were two different people. My dad was pretty strict, very social, the leader of the house. My mother was very quiet, um, introspective, a great listener. And I hope I can say this today that I've taken a little bit of both of them into my life, perhaps a lot of both of them.
yeah,
My
you
life.
know, a testimony you'll have. You've got the greatest traits that your mother and father have, and you demonstrate that in who you are. And I just wanted to affirm that with you.
Mhm.
So
Thanks.
go ahead, Kath, continue, your journey.
Yeah, so my journey, again, born and raised in a small little town and graduated from high school, and I went to college. I majored in social work, and I quit my junior year. I was in my first semester of my junior year, and I'm like, this is not for me. I didn't really know why. As I look back in my life, and when you're a kid and you're a teenager, you're just living life. And I didn't know myself. I wasn't awake to anything. So in my early life, what really spoke to me and guided me is really knowing what I didn't want. Because I really didn't know what I wanted. I had no idea. I thought I did, and then I stuff it down with fear and my lack of confidence. It's like, are you kidding? You can't do that. You can't even get a degree. And so those were kind of the messages that I really didn't pay attention to in the beginning. I just knew what I didn't want. I didn't want any more college. I didn't want to major in social work. And I didn't want to be part of a system because I knew once I graduated, I'd have to join a system. And I didn't want to be a part of that. And this sounds kind of contrasty, but I did join a major system, which was the military. I didn't know what else to do. I wanted to get away from home. I wanted to travel. I didn't know what else to do. So I'm 20 years old, 21. And so I joined the military. I joined the army and I ended up in Germany.
When you were made that decision to join the army, what was the feedback around family and friends and the things like that, when making that decision? Because lots of times we make our decisions. You were recognizing what you didn't want, and
Mhm.
then what did people say about you joining the military based on your character and who you are? What are some of the things they said to you?
Yeah, well, first of all, most of my friends couldn't believe it. And they told me that I would never make it. I'd probably get kicked out. Um, and the reason they said that I had well, I'll just be frank, I was quite stubborn. Um, And I didn't like people telling me what to do. I really liked the freedom of doing my own thing. And even though I didn't know what I was doing half the time, I liked the freedom of doing my own thing. So that's what they said. They really were true. They were telling me that, their truth. They said, Kath, you're never going to make it. You're going to get kicked out. You are way too strong-headed for the military. And I proved them wrong because I really liked the military for many, many different reasons.
What were some of the reasons? What
I
was
got
the
to travel.
Okay.
I met tons of different people that I would have never met staying in Wisconsin. I lived in Germany and met all kinds of people. It opened me up to the world, more of the world, different cultures, different upbringings, people from the South, people from the East Coast. And I love that. I just love that. And I love the different culture of being in Germany. And to be honest, I did like the strictness and the routine and the discipline of the military, because that's part of kind of how I was raised, the discipline, the strictness, the routine, right? And so it was familiar to me in a way. And yet the expansiveness too.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so you went against what everybody said because you knew what you didn't want and you were willing to journey. And that sort of leaves, the military thing. And what's the biggest thing you came away from the military besides what you just shared? Any one specific thing that can impact somebody else or making decisions to change your life? That changed your life, and every decision we make changes our life. You would agree. But what was the biggest thing the military gave you that you're carrying forward today in that experience? Just one thing, if you can think of it. If you can, that's fine.
Yeah, I think the confidence to enter into a world I had no idea what I was entering. And I think of all the decisions I had to make, all the new people, everything. It was all new to me. But it was like I embraced it and I entered it. Yeah. And I don't even remember being fearful. I probably was, because fear was such a big part of my life, fear and worry. But yeah, I think it gave me the confidence.
Okay.
To move through, and it's like, wow, I can be free. I can make decisions on my own. And serving our country. I have to say that. I can't leave this conversation without saying that. As I reflect back as a woman now in my 60s, I think, wow, I'm grateful for that experience.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kath, for serving. We can't take those things. You sacrificed a lot, moving from Wisconsin into the unknown, but you never knew what was going to happen. And, military were there to serve. And at the becking of an order, we can put ourselves in harm's way for the protection of the freedoms we have. I just want to thank you and thank all veterans out there for serving, not just because you're my wife, but seriously in that area. Hey, that leads sort of to in your journey. I was just looking here, California. I'll tell my little story here. This is how I met Kathleen, and I'll let her tell the story. She has a different twist on it, but I've shared my story in a previous broadcast, but it's pretty much the same. So, tell me about, when you get the military and how did you get to California? From to California?
I got out of the military and actually I stayed in Germany for another year and a half as a civilian because I knew I didn't want to go home again. I just didn't want to go back to the box of small town Wisconsin. And so I stayed in Germany, and then I went to California. I went to California, and it was a good place to go. Back in those days, everybody wanted to go to California, so ended up in the Bay Area.
Okay.
Okay. And again, at this time in my life, I'm about 26, right, years old, still kind of lost, but I kept going after that tug. I really didn't know what I wanted. I knew what I didn't want, but I always had, and I'm speaking to the audience now, this tug, still small voice, intuition, something that kept grabbing at me. Go, 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 explore. And so I went to California. hmm Yeah, up in the Bay Area. And that's where I met you.
Well, why don't you share that story? And that sort of leads in sort of as you're exploring, knowing what you didn't want, and how did we end up connecting? And here we are. Gee, I better not even say the years because if I get it wrong, I am gonna be accountable for not knowing the exact years. But I'll let Kathy share that story. Go ahead, Kath.
Yeah, how Tom and I met real quickly. I had gone into financial services and we began to sell mortgages. And in order to sell mortgages in California, I had to be real estate licensed. So I went to a real estate crash course. Again, scared, not really knowing what I was doing there, but I found myself there. I wanted to, I guess, have the challenge of doing something different. I was still trying to find myself, my career, what I really wanted to do. So sitting in this classroom, I went with a couple colleagues of mine and they wanted to sit in the back of the room. And I said, I can't, I really need to listen because I know this is going to be difficult material for me. And so I sat in a chair and two guys were behind me and I was listening to them talk. And one of the guys says, wow, it's a great place to meet women. And the other guy says, well, they're probably all married. And so I turned around and I said, well, I'm not married. And lo and behold, the guy was Tom. And that's how we met.
Yeah.
And that's how we met 32 years ago.
Yeah.
32 years ago.
I just want to say that was probably looking back, and I have fun with it and how we met and in that, and and it you just got to act. You just got to act and move forward and get through fear. I was worried about you going to reject me, all those things that we normally do, but something about her I picked up. I think just the courage to turn around was the spark. That sort of within, I like confident people and upfront people. And I'm going to sort of lead in with that because those are some of the characteristics she has that attracted me and attracts other people and her influencing. So, Kat, I just sort of, maybe we can just sort of transition a little bit to your journey. Where, to get you where you are today, just why don't you just go ahead and share a little bit about that, some of the loves and the passions you do,
Yeah.
and how you deliver that.
Yeah. My journey, like most of us, we've made some really great decisions and some really poor decisions. So I'm in the club of that. But I've learned that every decision is a lesson and every mistake is a lesson. So as I reflect back on my journey, I have to say this again, Tom. In the beginning, it was the stronger pull was what I didn't want versus what I wanted. However, around the time I met Tom is really the time I began to wake up and get serious about me, my career path, who I was as a person. And a couple things led me to that point before I met Tom. I was always searching. I was always curious. I was always wanting to know myself and what made the world tick. And even though I had a lot of fear within me, I just kept going. And I kept taking risks. And there was a group in San Francisco that I belonged to, professional self-development group. And one weekend, they were giving a workshop on self-image. You know, I'm 26 years old, 27 years old. And I thought, I'm going to take this workshop because I'm going to leave that workshop with self-image and self-confidence. I just believed it. So I went to this workshop. And the one thing I took out of that workshop was do what you say you're going to do. Integrity of your word. It blew my mind because I really never thought about putting those two together. There's a whole weekend on this. And I did several other workshops, went down to San Diego, just different workshops. But this one really stood out. And that has been a big part of my journey, is that workshop and what I learned. Is keeping your word. Number one, to yourself, and number one, to other people. Because then with that, I know that I can look at myself in the mirror and like myself and trust myself. Because if I don't trust myself as I walk this earth, it's not going to feel like a very safe world to me. Yeah. So that is a big part of my journey. Making things non-negotiable. That's another word I use a lot in my life, in my teaching, is things that are important to you. Make them non-negotiable. There's no what if, there's no we'll see what happens, there's no if I have the time. What is non-negotiable in your life? Doesn't have to be a big laundry list. Make it simple. What is non-negotiable? And for me, what is non-negotiable? A few things is my health. You know, my health. My fitness level, staying healthy, vibrant. You know, I want to be 90 and still working, kind of thing. My allowing myself to be in solitude and silence, the quietness, that's a big non-negotiable item for me. My work takes me into the world to be with people. I love it. And yet I have to leave that world and enter my world of silence and solitude.
Yes, that's one of your mantras, you know, and you know, with sharing that with us, I think it's important. You know, this is going to lead to some of the other things you're going to talk about here in the next few minutes. But so you joined a group, a self-development group, and you were that. So being part of a group of forward thinkers and coaches and mentors, do you think that set a foundation to help you move forward, having people bring new awareness in life to you? The value of coaching and
most
mentoring?
Definitely. Teachers, mentoring, coaching, very valuable in my life, and paying attention who enters your life and the gifts they bring you. Because, and I have to share this, and I'm going to go back to my military real quick if I can. Sure. Because when I was in the military, I had a dear friend. He was older than me, and I think he was a staff sergeant. I had a deep respect for him, and he gave me this book, The Prophet. I had no idea what it was. And he said, Kathy, promise me you'll read it and you'll keep it. And I said, yes. And this is, I don't know, 40 years later, I still have his book. And several people have come into my life like that, to try to wake me up to myself and to life. So pay attention to the teachers, to the mentors, to the coaches. They all show up in very different ways, just not a classroom or on a Zoom call. Pay attention. Pay attention.
Yeah, I think that's important. Your questioning, questions open up awareness. Give you solutions. So, very powerful. The little things that if we look back on, we can say that's part of the foundation to get me where you're at. What I just want to ask you this: what is your passion? What's your love? What excites you when you put your feet on the floor in the morning? What's the thing that causes you to move forward in the day? What's that internal belief that you have, feeling?
I love many things. I love to be with people in the raw and realness of life. That's really what I love. It gives me passion. I've been in the profession of massage therapy and body work for almost 30 years now. And I don't think I can think of a day, maybe 5 at the most, where I didn't want to go into my office. I absolutely love what I do. I love the intimacy. I love the connection with my clients. I also teach, and my students. One of the things that guides me in my work, that I believe we all want and desire and rarely ask for. Do you see me? Do you hear me? And do you really care? And that is my kind of compass of my offering to people, to let them know that I truly see them for who they are, that I hear them, their story, their joys, their pain, and that they're all okay. They're okay. And I get to do that with everything I do in my professional life. Finding your passion, believing in yourself, no matter what your background, no matter what your beliefs are. We all have limiting beliefs, limiting thoughts that can easily hold us back. What do you want? It's what I ask me. What do I want? What's important to you? And then go after it. And then go after it. Come hell or high water, making it non-negotiable in your life. That vision, that passion, your heart's desire. You've got to make it non-negotiable. Yeah. That nothing or no one will get in your way.
Powerful, Kath, because, I see it working every day, and I see her engage with other people. I see her engage with me with the same intensity and her communication. That's what I admire so much about her. She is an influencer in her subtle, quiet way, because she's in presence with people, and that's what we're seeking. And she's a great teacher in that. So I'm going to lead to a little bit into the teaching. You do teaching, you may want to share a little bit about it, but if I may make a comment, on this,
mm-hmm.
A lot of teachers just teach facts to a test. So, but I know what Kathy teaches. So she teaches intuition. If you want to expand, that's how I would interpret it, Kath. So if you want to clarify that, you can. But, talk a little bit about your teaching. What do you teach? And and that's going to lead to where you're at today, and you're pivoting and taking your gifts to the world. So why don't you just share a little bit about your teaching and what you do there and within your business? You do 3 different businesses. So people say, how do you do 3?
Multiple sources of income. But anyway, I teach ethics. And I want to again go back to what I said in the beginning. I knew what I didn't want. Oftentimes I didn't know what I wanted. And ethics teaching was one of those. I have my own continuing education business called Ethical Dimensions. And when Tom and I moved back to Wisconsin in 1997, within a few months, I found out that a massage school was hiring teachers. I didn't know I could be a teacher. I didn't even know what I could teach. All right. So I went for the interview, and the person said, well, what do you want to teach? And I says, well, let me start with this. I know what I don't want to teach. I don't want to teach sciences. I don't want to teach hands-on. And she looks at me and she says, well, how about ethics? And I said, sure. She goes, you're hired. that quick. All right. And back in 97, I think it was 98. And I remember it like yesterday. I remember going home very excited, and I started developing my curriculum. And that was the beginning of my journey. It felt so right to me. Another thing to pay attention to. What feels right? What feels right?
Yeah.
Speaking to you. So that was really it. So I taught in school, taught curriculum, and I teach continuing education, and the whole foundation of my approach to ethics. And this is what really gives me the passion. And I tell my students, first 10 minutes of class, I'm not in front of you teaching ethics because I'm more ethical than you. I just happen to have great passion for this topic. And my passion is this, that ethics is really a study. It's a terrain of personal development and transformation. That our work as holistic healers, or whatever we do in life, companion other people, our work becomes a spiritual practice that reflects our inner journey. And to me, that's what ethics is. I wanted to turn people's head from the boring assumption of ethics to, wow, this is great stuff.
And so that sort of leads to something else. I understand, I know about that passion and bringing people to new awareness and new understanding with ethics. It's not the rules and regulation. That's part of it. Sure, what you shouldn't do, and confidentiality and all those things. I like the comment you always make is in ethics is, what is it you say, Kath? It's who you show up as. Could you say a little bit about that comment? It's a very powerful comment.
It's an inquiry. I love questions and inquiry. It drives Tom nuts sometimes because I ask a lot of questions. I'm curious, right? And so that is a platform that I teach from. So the question is, who are you being as you enter the session room? The beingness, because many people focus on the doing of life, right? The doing. What am I doing today? What am I doing? And not only in ethics teaching, but in life, is who am I being at this moment? As I enter into the presence of this moment, the beingness.
Yeah. And so I think that's very powerful if we contemplate that a little bit, is being aware of who we are, who we're being in this moment. Especially like in your profession, working with people at intimate levels, I could see how important that is to enrich that person's experience with what you do. And you do that not only with your clients. I know that, I've experienced it on a daily basis with her presence, and I know how valuable it is. But because of your passion and about that, and um, the integrity of who you're showing up with and all that, it spurred you to. You're in the process of, I understand, writing a book. Is that correct? You want to share a little bit about that and where that is, the title of the book, and who is it going to? What's the audience that's going to benefit from your book that's going to be coming out? Why don't you go ahead and share about your book, the title, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, Tom. And before I do, I just want to again share with the audience. Here's another thing about what I do in life that I had no vision of. Right? I'm not. I didn't. Years ago, say to myself, I'm going to be a writer. And for me, that is how my life has been. It's just been a series of people and opportunities and situations that happen. And it's like, oh my God, this tugs, this is pulling me. And I think this is maybe one of my main messages, around mentoring and coaching and teaching and fulfilling your own life. What do you do? What are we all doing here? Right? Living life on purpose and meaning. And so my writing was the same thing. It started really through journaling. Have been journaling for years and finding out that wow, and then writing and just different situations around writing. I wrote a lot as my parents were dying, and I know I'm going to get to the answer to your question, Hun, but I just wanted the audience to really hear that sometimes we hear things like know what you want, have a vision and go for it. And yes, but oftentimes it's not just one whoopee wake up call. It's a process of life that keeps tugging, you know, that longing and discontent, I guess I'll call it, right? That discontent along with the longing and knowing that and paying attention to that. So my writing, yes, I'm writing a book, The Soul of Ethical Service. And it really is basically a reflection of my 20 years of teaching. I'm putting into a book. Again, ethics being the terrain of personal transformation. Who are we being as we enter the moment?
Yeah. And I really look forward to bringing you back again, and be able to reflect a little bit more about your book and your writings. And one of the things that Kathy does, and it sort of really causes people's attention, is what you do every January to tell that story. This is where she does a lot of her writing and creation, and I'm a lucky guy. When she comes back from that retreat, I got a brand new woman. So so she's grown, and I've seen that thing, and share that piece. I think it's something that all individuals should explore, is that be still and know, that how to get into a quiet place and make it a non-negotiable or a part of your life. Could you go share a little bit about your retreat that you've been doing for, was it 18 years now, Kath?
Yeah, it'll be 18 in January. And this is a huge part of my life. And it is a non-negotiable item in my life. Nothing or no one gets in the way, at least up to this point. So every January I go away for 7 to 10 days, and I spend the time in solitude and silence. The retreat center that I go to is not far from my home. The purpose of it is not to travel a long distance to go there. It's simply to be in the solitude and silence of life, of nature. So I live in a little Pristinia, floor to ceiling windows, octagon shape. So everywhere I look, I get to see nature. And so I spend 10 days by myself.
What's Pristinia in Russian mean?
Desert.
Yeah.
Pristinia in Russian means desert. So it's a desert experience, as the mystics call it. And it is the highlight of my year, to be honest with you. I love that. My goal is 30 days. And then I'll make a U-turn. And I invite people. It is not for everybody. And I understand that. Because one of the first questions people ask me is, what do you do? What do you do for 10 days? But I invite everybody into a discipline of quietness, of solitude and silence. The world is noisy, it's distracting, and we all know the rest of the story on that. We cannot hear ourselves if we don't enter the quietness of our own soul. Right? And I'd love to talk perhaps someday just simply about the retreat.
Yeah, that would be a great way to illustrate what you do and what you take from it, and encourage people to experience in their own way the same type of journey and what it brings to you. Because I see it. I've seen what and who she becomes through that experience. And I've seen her writings. And that's another area that will encourage her to write her deep, profound thoughts. They're magnificent. And that's another journey, I'm sure. So I just planted the seed, Kathy. You got to write another book, okay? So, but here, with COVID and all this, and the uncertainties of life, and the learnings you have, and being still, you're making some pivots. Why don't you share with the audience here some of the pivots you're making, and why you're the pivots, and the purpose and the why around that. And then I think, we'll be wrapping up here in just a few minutes, but whatever it takes. There's no timeline whatsoever here. So
yeah, and I think I'll close with this. I'll be 65 in January, and I don't look at my age as wow, I'm getting old, or I don't go there. I love my age, and however it has spoken to me. It's like, wow, the 65 pivot in my professional life. So I'm pivoting my work a little bit in terms of where my focus is going to be for the next 15 years of my life, right? I'll be 80 then. And that'll give me plenty of time to move into the new a little bit. But one of the areas that I'm going into, and Tom, I think this is going to be a really great place for completion of our time this morning, is grief work. My parents both died 6 months apart in 2012. It took me under. I thought I was going crazy. I thought I was losing myself. I thought a lot of things, actually. From that experience, I became in grief companionship with my body-centered work, that whole piece. For me, grief was an amazing, powerful experience. And so that's part of my pivot, is moving into body-centered grief work, creating a grief training center with 2 of my other colleagues. But I'm going to finish with this. As I was going through the journey of grief as a result of my own parents' death, one day I'm sitting looking out the window. I remember this vividly, and I'm like, man, this is painful stuff. How am I going to get through this? And as I was reflecting back and just hanging out with the inquiry, this came to me. I said, yeah, this is really painful. Grief is deep. But to me, what I feel is our deepest grief that no one really talks about or recognizes is we miss ourself, our true self, our self that is here for a purpose and lives with meaning and passion and just loves life and loves what you do and loves to wake up every morning. And so to me, and this is my pivot, a part of my pivoting work, is grief has two sides. The grief of when one loses someone they love through death, divorce, but mostly my specialty is death. But also then my teaching, my mentoring, my coaching is about the grief we all experience through missing ourselves. And I can say for the first 30 years of my life, I was grieving that grief. And for the past 30 years, I'm beginning to know myself, still on that journey. And so instead of missing ourselves and the grief we experience from that, we stay busy and we stay in the noise. And so it all fits together.
I have something, say that again. It's profound what you said, that we all grieve. Now, we just don't grieve because we lose the process of death, which is part of life. And we're not equipped with it. Most aren't. And that's why the gift that you bring help families, individuals transition that experience in grieving. And grieving goes to, you can't work out anymore because you broke your leg. I mean, we go through different levels of grief. Yeah. But I want you to go back to that statement you says, recognizing your grief was losing yourself. I think if you could rephrase that again, I think it's very profound, because that's part of what you do, is help people recognize their pains. And that's grief in many cases.
Yeah. Grief is due to loss, right? That's right. So grief, if we can, grief has two sides. As Tom was talking about, reflecting what I said, right? It's, we lose a loved one, we go through divorce, we lose a leg, right? We were diagnosed with cancer, we lose our hair, whatever. We're always losing things or people. But I feel also our deepest grief is we miss ourselves, our true self, our true nature, right? Our heart's desire, what we're doing here in life. I ask myself that a lot. What am I doing here? Right? What am I doing here? What's my purpose? How should I serve? What are my gifts? What does God want me to do? What is my soul tugging me to do? And if we don't follow that tug, that's grief. That's grief. We're missing something in our life. And that something is ourself. And what makes us happy and brings joy and passion and meaning to our life. That's grief. And then to me, everything else is piled on top of that deepest grief. And so when I work with people, either they're over here grieving due to a loss of a loved one through death, or with my teaching and coaching, and even my ethics. Who am I being as I show up? Who is that person? Who am I being? That's part of the journey of moving through grief and missing ourselves. Who am I? What am I doing here? And if we don't find that, we're in grief. Yeah. And that's not where I want to be. And that's not where a lot of people I meet want to be.
Kath, it's powerful how you communicated that. And that's your presence and understanding and the gift you bring, and help people find what they don't want. Chip it away, because the magnificence inside the granite, it's already there. And we could go on for hours on this. And this is what I'm really excited about is, Kathy is, it does impact people. She's my greatest influencer, and I hope you can see why I'm excited. She brings tears to my eyes. So, but with that, she brings a gift and she touches people the way she's touching me right now. So I just encourage you, to reach out to her, any comments you have, or you'd like to have a conversation with her. You may be grieving right now. It could be a loss of a loved one, or you've lost a job or whatever. She's here. Just an email and she'll respond back to you and experience her gift. And with that, Kath, wow. Wow. So thank you very much. I look forward to you being part of the G-Force, because it's what gratitude is one of the most powerful words, G-Force. That's what this platform's about, is using what the powers of our God, the power of our universe, the powers of whatever we use to help improve other people's lives. And I know, without a doubt, you improved my life today again. So with gratitude. Kath, I look forward to having you participate, some teachings, and bringing your wisdom in a little deeper way as well. So we just saw the tip of the iceberg of this magnificent woman, Kathy Ginn. Thanks, Kath.
Thanks.
On here for a moment. We'll wrap some things up, and again, thank you for everybody. Leave comments. Sorry there, I didn't have my mic on. So that was recorded earlier today. Some things came up and she had to attend to some clients during this time. So we decided to do this the first thing in the morning. Hey, I just want to thank everybody for jumping on, making your comments, share it out, and God bless everybody. G-Force, gratitude, one of the most powerful words that we can apply in our life. Hey, tomorrow I'll be just putting out another little snippet. I've got a new guest scheduled for next Friday. A wonderful woman. Interesting here. 1 mile below bottom, keeping your joy in hell. Denisha Tate. So she'll be next week's guest. I will be putting some information about her. Share it out. My whole platform's here to help people better understand that no matter where we are, there's hope. There's people to help and guide you, give you a better sense of direction and a better understanding. With that, with gratitude and giving, thank you for being here. See you next week. G-Force.